Vedanta Narayan Gosai Maharaj Shri Gurudev ki jai. Nitila Pavishtam Vishnupad Rashatarashatashmar Bhaktivedanta Vaman Gosai Maharaj ki jai. Nitila Pavishtam Vishnupad Rashatarashatashmar Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Nitila Pavishta Maha Bhagavat Shri Goksharas Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Nitila Pavishta Shri Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Nitila Pavishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Shri Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopala Bhattadashavanath Sharda Gosai Prabhu ki jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki jai. Nama Jai Shri Hairas Thakur ki jai. Prem Se Ko Shri प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल ब्रज मंडल मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय। सर्व अभिष्ट प्रदत्त गिरिराज महाराज की जय। श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड की जय। श्री मुन देवी गंगा देवी की जय। श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जय। श्री भक्ति देवी की जय। श्री पूर्णमासी योगमाया की जय। श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जय। श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। श्री वंशी वदनानंद ठाकुर की जय। श्री श्यामानंद प्रभु की जय। श्री बलदेव रस यात्रा की जय। श्री कृष्ण वसंती रस यात्रा की जय। श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Shamananda Prabhu's and Vangsi Vadanananda's. I always have a hard time saying that. It's their appearance day today. Alright, Dandavat Pranam everybody. Dandavat Pranams Gargraj Ji, Madhvi Didi, Raseshwari Mataji, Kishore Prabhu, Rukmanjari Didi, Happy Vasant Ras Purnima, Haribo. Shri Indira Mata. Oh, that's for me. It's not for you. Dandavat Pranams Indira Mataji. Is it really? That's really neat. All right. Om Jnana. Dandavat Pranams Indira Mataji. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Śrīmad Bhakti Vedanta Narayana Namine. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaha. Guru Chandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Yang Pravajantam Anupetam Apetya Krityam Dvaipayano Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putreti Tanmayataya Taravo Bhinedu Stang Sarva Bhuta Hridaya Munimanatosmi. Narayanam Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraet. Shrinvatang Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Ridantasto Yabhadrani Vidhunoti Suhritsatam Nashta Prayeshvabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. Tavai vasmi na jivami tvaya vina. Iti vigyaya radhe tvam nayamam charanantikam. Bhaktya vihina aparada lakshay kshitashtakamadittaranga madhe. Kripa maitam sharanam prapanna vrinde namaste charana ravindam. Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Rama Rama Hare Hare. Okay, this is very short, so we can read this after we finish our Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam reading. Today we have a short reading day. It's 4,000 something words. So yesterday we read the story of Sobharimuni. Sobharimuni, he marries Mandata's 50 daughters. Sobharimuni was doing austerities deep in the water of the Yamuna River. Once he saw a pair of fish engaged in sex. Desiring to have such pleasure, he came out of the water and went to the king Mandata in Mathura and begged for one of his daughters. Mandata indirectly refused, saying, "O Brahman, any of my daughters may accept any husband according to her personal selection." Sobharimuni thought, "I am a yogi, old and feeble, with gray hair and wrinkled skin. My head trembles, so women don't like me. I shall reform my body in such a way that even celestial ladies will desire me, what to speak of worldly princesses." Sobhari thus became young and a beautiful man. The messenger took him to the opulent quarters of the princesses. All 50 princesses were attracted to him. They gave up their sisterly relationships and quarreled among themselves over him. Finally, they all accepted him as their husband. Due to his unlimited austerities and expertise in chanting mantras that creates material wealth, the great yogi Sobhari enjoyed with his wives in an opulent home, clean lakes, and fragrant gardens with chirping birds, humming bees, and singing birds. He enjoyed costly beds, seats, clothes, ornaments, ointments, and foods, and he was served by many men and women. Emperor Mandata was surprised, and he felt himself defeated by seeing the great household opulence of Sobharimuni, and he gave up his false prestige of being the ruler of the entire world. But Sobhari was not satisfied. Despite enjoying so much sense gratification, he was unsatisfied despite enjoying so much sense gratification, just as fire never ceases to blaze by constant supply of drops of ghee. Okay, ghee. That's what I've always heard also. I've always, this time we read fat. Anyways. I think that word could probably mean either ghee or fat. Forgot what was the word? Anyways, doesn't matter. Srila Prabhupada said, "Material desire is just like a blazing fire. Therefore, the policy of trying to satisfy material desires by catering to one's material demands will never be successful. Real satisfaction is in Krishna consciousness. One must follow regulative principles and advance in Krishna consciousness and attain an eternal, blissful life in peace and knowledge." One day, in a secluded place, Sobhari thought about his fall down and realized that it had been caused by his association with some fish. And there's a note here. To protect some fish, Sobhari had prevented Garuda from eating them. Because Garuda's plans for eating fish were disappointed, Sobharimuni certainly committed a great Vaishnava aparad. Thus he fell down from his position and now regained his sense after enjoying. So one should not impede the activities of a Vaishnav. Somebody sent me a message. Okay, ghee is fat. Yeah, that's true. It's just fat can mean so many other things. But ghee is fat, that's true. Okay, Sobharimuni's contemplation and perfection. Alas, I lost the results of my long austerities and saintly practices simply by association with the sexual affairs of fish. Everyone should observe this fall down and learn from it. The right and wrong association. One who desires liberation must give up the association of persons interested in sex life. One should not employ one's senses externally in seeing, hearing, talking, walking, and so on. One must stay in a secluded place and fully fix one's mind at the lotus feet of the unlimited Lord. A secluded place is not secure unless there is good association. If one wants any association at all, one must associate only with devotees who meditate on the Lord. Because I lacked such association, I was degraded. The power of Maya. I was alone during austerities and yoga inside water, but by associating with fish, I became a husband of 50 wives and begot in each of them 100 sons and increased my family to 5,000 people. There is no end to my material desires for enjoyment in this life and the next. My intelligence by the three modes, and I considered material enjoyment the goal of life. After some time, Sobhari accepted the Vanaprastha order with detachment and went to the forest, and his devoted wives followed him. In the forest, Sobhari performed severe austerities for realizing the self. He gave up his body and attained the Supreme Lord. By observing their husband progressing in spiritual existence, Sobharimuni's wives were also able to enter the spiritual world by his spiritual power, just as the flames of a fire cease when the fire is extinguished. So now we're reading. Oh yeah, I read that and this. Okay, I'm not gonna read this whole thing because I'd like to just get on with our reading. I'll just read this here. So the stories of Purukutsa and Trishanku. Purukutsa marries Narmada, goes to Rasatala, and kills the Gandharvas. The serpents gave him a boon. Then Purukutsa's descendant, Trishanku, gets cursed by his father and hangs in the sky by the power of Vishvamitra. And I think it said that he's still hanging there, right? Then the story of Harishchandra. Harishchandra gets a son by Varuna's boon. But in order to get that son, he said, I promise Varuna that I will sacrifice my son to you. Which I'm completely confused by. Why would he say that? Anyways, then he was so attached to his son, and he kept on elongating it. Okay, I'm going to sacrifice my son when he's purified by whatever. And it kept on going on. And then Harishchandra gets attacked by leprosy. And then Harishchandra's son brings another son, which he... Oh God, it's so weird. Anyways, then Harishchandra performs a sacrifice, and then Harishchandra attains perfection. Wait, so in the previous chapter, this previous chapter that we just read, about with Sobharimuni, Shukadev Goswami described about the 50 daughters of Mandata. And this chapter, which we just briefly went through, he describes about Mandata's sons. As mentioned in the previous chapter, verse 38, Mandata had 3 sons, Ambarish, Purukutsa, and Muchukunda. All right. So now, the sons of Sagar meet Lord Kapila. Who's Rohita again? I guess, and is that another son of Vaivasvatamanu? God, I have such a bad memory. How does it end? No. Purakutsa? Anyways, okay, let's just continue on. The sons of Sagar meet Lord Kapiladeva. This is a very famous story. We talk about it on Parikrama, right? When we go to Janudip. Right? When do we tell this story? No, that's different. Okay, the sons of Sagar. Okay. Chapter 8. Oh, and let me just see all who's here. Haribo, Prajumna Prabhu. Okay, that's totally fine. Haribo Savitri Didi and Haripriya Didi. Dandavat pranams, everybody. All right. Chapter 8. The sons of Sagar meet Lord Kapiladeva. In this 8th chapter, the descendants of Rohita are described. In the dynasty of Rohita, there was a king named Sagar, whose history is described in relation to Kapiladeva and the destruction of the sons of Sagar. We're going to be reading how Ganga came to this world, another way. The son of Rohita was known as Harita, and the son of Harita was Champa, who constructed a township known as Champapuri. The son of Champa was Sudeva. The son of Sudeva was Vijaya. The son of Vijaya was Bharuka, and the son of Bharuka was Vrika. Bahuka, the son of Vrika, was greatly disturbed by his enemies, and therefore he left home with his wife and went to the forest. When he died there, his wife wanted to accept the principles of sati, dying with her husband. But when she was about to die, a sage named Orva found that she was pregnant and forbade her to do so. The co-wives of this wife of Bahuka gave her poison with her food, but still her son was born with the poison. The son was therefore named Sagar. Sa means with, and Gara means poison. Following the instructions of the great sage Orva, King Sagar reformed many clans, including the Yavanas, Shakas, Haihayas, and Barbaras. The king did not kill them, but reformed them. Then, again following the instructions of Orva, King Sagar performed Ashvamedha sacrifices, but the horse needed for such a sacrifice was stolen by Indra, the king of heaven. King Sagar had 2 wives named Sumati and Keshini. While searching for the horse, the sons of Sumati extensively dug up the surface of the earth and in this way dug a trench, which later became known as the Sagar Ocean. It's a pretty huge trench, filled up the whole world. In the course of this search, they came upon the great personality Kapiladeva and thought him to have stolen the horse. With this understanding, they attacked him and were all burned to ashes. Keshini, the second wife of King Sagar, had a son named Asamañjasa, whose son was Aṁśumān. The second wife of King Sagar, a son named Asamañjasa, whose son Aṁśumān later searched for the horse and delivered his uncles. Upon approaching Kapiladeva, Aṁśumān saw both the horse meant for the sacrifice and a pile of ashes. Aṁśumān offered prayers to Kapiladeva, who was very pleased by his prayers and who returned the horse. After getting back the horse, however, Aṁśumān still stood before Kapiladeva, and Kapiladeva could understand that Aṁśumān was praying for the deliverance of his forefathers. Thus Kapiladeva offered the instruction that they could be delivered by water Ganges. Aṁśumān then offered respectful obeisances to Kapiladeva, circumambulated him, and left that place for sacrifice. When King Sagar finished his yagya, he handed over the kingdom to Aṁśumān and, following the advice of Orva, attained salvation. Anyways, doesn't matter. Shri Shukacha Harito Rohita Sutash Champas Tasmar Vinirmita Champapuri Sevoto Vijayo Yasachatmaja. Shukadeva Goswami continued. The son of Rohita was Harita, and Harita's son was Champa, who constructed the town of Champapuri. The son of Champa was Sudeva, and his son was Vijaya. Bharukas tatsutastasmad vrikas tasyapi bahuka. Ki? I'm sorry. Vrikas tasyapi bahuka. Soribhir hritabhuraja sabharyo vanamavishat. The son of Vijaya was Bharuka. Bharuka's son was Vrika, and Vrika's son was Bahuka. The enemies of King Bahuka took away all his possessions, and therefore the king entered the order of Vanaprastha and went to the forest with his wife. Vredantam pachatam praptam mahishyanu marishyati orvena janatatmanam prajavantam nivarita. Bahuka died when he was old, and one of his wives wanted to die with him, following the sati rite. At that time, however, Orva Muni, knowing her to be pregnant, forbade her to die. Agyayasyai sapatni bir garodatton dasas sahatenaiva sanjataha sagarakyo mahayashaha sagaraschakravartyasit sagoyatsutai kritaha. Knowing that she was pregnant, the co-wives of the wife of Bahuka conspired to give her poison with her food, but it did not act. Instead, the son was born along with the poison. Therefore, he became famous as Sagar, one who is born with poison. Sagar later became the emperor. The place known as Ganga Sagar was excavated by his sons. I've been to Ganga Sagar. Yastala Jankana Yavanang Chakan Haya Barbaran Navadhir Guruvakyena Chakre Vikrita Veshina Mundan Chma. Oh my God, how do you say that? Mundan Chmashru Darankash Mukta Kesharda Munditan Antarvasasa Kangshid Anantar Vasasa Kangshid Abhahir Vasaso Paran. Sorry about that. Sagar Maharaj, following the order of his spiritual master Orva, did not kill the uncivilized men like the Talajangas, Yavanas, Shakas, Haihayas, and Barbaras. Instead, some of them he made dress awkwardly. Some shaved clean but allowed to wear mustaches. Some of them he left wearing loose hair. Some he half shaved. Some he left without underwear. And some without external garments. Thus, these different clans were made to dress differently, but King Sagar did not kill them. Okay? You must all wear mustaches. Otherwise. None of you can wear underwear. That's so random. Soshvamedhar ayajata sarvaveda suratmakam orvopadishta yogena harimatman ishvaram tasyot srishtam pankshum yagye jaharashvam purandhara. Following the instructions of the great sage Orva, Sagar Maharaj performed Ashwamedha sacrifices and thus satisfied the Supreme Lord, who is the Supreme Controller, the Supersoul of all learned scholars, and the knower of all Vedic knowledge, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But Indra, the King of Heaven, stole the horse meant to be offered at the sacrifice. Sumatyastanaya dripta pitura deshakarinaha hayam anveshamanaste samantam nyakhanam mahim. King Sagar had two wives, Sumati and Keshini. The sons of Sumati were very proud of their prowess and influence, following the order of their father. Following the order of their father, they searched for the lost horse. While doing so, they dug into the earth very extensively. I don't get why they were digging into the earth to find the horse. It's not like the horse would go... Anyways, I don't get it. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Okay. Oops, that's too big. There. Pragudityam dishihayam dadrishu kapilantike Eshavaji haraschora aste militalochana Hanyatam papa iti shashti sahasrina Udayuda abhiyayur unmimesha tada munihi. Thereafter, in the northeastern direction, they saw the horse near the ashram of Kapila Muni. Here is the man who has stolen the horse, they said. He is staying there with closed eyes. Certainly he is very sinful. Kill him! Kill him! Shouting like this, the sons of Sagar, 60,000 altogether, raised their weapons. When they approached the sage opened his eyes. Hey. Swashariragnina tavan mahendra ritta chetasa mahadvyati kramahata bhashmasar abhavangshanat. By the influence of Indra, the king of heaven, the sons of Sagar had lost their intelligence and disrespected a great personality. Consequently, fire emanated from their own bodies, and they were immediately burned to ashes. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The material body is a combination of earth, water, fire, air, and ether. There is already fire within the body, and our practical experience is that the heat of the fire sometimes increases and sometimes decreases. The fire within the bodies of the sons of Sagar Maharaj became so much hotter than all of the fire within their bodies became so much hotter that all of them burned to ashes. The fire's increased heat was due to their misbehavior toward a great personality. Such misbehavior is called mahadvyatikaram. They were killed by the fire of their own bodies because of insulting a great personality. Nasadu vado munikopa bharjita nripendra putra iti sattvadhamani katang tamo roshamayam vibhavyate jagat pavitratmani ke rajo bhuva. It is sometimes argued that the sons of King Sagara were burned to ashes by the fire emanating from the eyes of Kapila Muni. This statement, however, is not approved by great learned persons, for Kapila Muni's body is completely made in the mode of goodness, and therefore cannot manifest the mode of ignorance in the form of anger, just as the pure sky cannot be polluted by the dust of the earth. Yasyerita sankhya mayi dridehanor yayamamukshus tarate duratyayam Bhavarnavam mrityu patang vipashtita paratma bhutasya katam patang pritang mati. One second. I'm just curious about this combination. SB, what is it? 9, 8. Doesn't matter. I can find it. Kapila Muni enunciated in this material world the Sankhya philosophy, which is a strong boat with which to cross over the ocean of nescience. Indeed, a person eager to cross the ocean of the material world may take shelter of this philosophy. In such a greatly learned person situated on the elevated platform of transcendence, how can there be any distinction between enemy and friend? Purport. One who is promoted to the transcendental position, Brahmabhuta, is always jubilant, Prasannatma. He is unaffected by the false distinctions between good and bad in the material world. Therefore, such an exalted person is Sama Sarveshu Bhuteshu. That is to say, he is equal toward everyone, not distinguishing between friend and enemy. Because he is on the absolute platform, free from material contamination, he is called Paratma Bhuta, or Brahma Bhuta. Kapila Muni, therefore, was not at all angry at the sons of Sagar Maharaj. Rather, they were burnt to ashes by the heat of their own bodies. Yo Aṁśumān ityukta sa keshinya nripatmaja tasya putrang Aṁśumān nama pitamaha hiterata. Among the sons of Sagar Maharaj was one named Asamañjasa, who was born from the king's second wife Keshini. The son of Asamañjasa was known as Aṁśumān, and he was always engaged in working for the good of Sagar Maharaj, his grandfather. Asamañjasa atmanam darshayam asamanjasam jati smara pura sangar yogi yogar vichalitaha acharan garhitan loke gyatinam karma vipriyam saravyam kridito balam prasyad udvejayanjanam. Formerly, in his previous birth, Asamañjasa had been a great mystic yogi, but by bad association he had fallen from his exalted position. Now, in this life, he was born in a royal family and was a jati smara. That is, he had the special advantage of being able to remember his past birth. Nonetheless, he wanted to display himself as a miscreant, and therefore he would do things that were abominable in the eyes of the public and unfavorable to his relatives. He would disturb the boys sporting in the river Sarayu by throwing them into the depths of the water. Well, that's not very nice. Oh, anyways, couldn't he do other things to... whatever. Evam vritta parityakta pitra sneham apohyavai yoga ishwaryena balangstam darshayitva tato yayo. Because Asamañjasa engaged in such abominable activities, his father gave up affection for him and had him exiled. Then Asamañjasa exhibited his mystic power by reviving the boys and showing them to the king and their parents. After this, Asamañjasa left Ayodhya. Okay? Fourth, Asamañjasa was a jati smara. Because of his mystic power, he did not forget his previous consciousness. Thus, he could give life to the dead. By exhibiting wonderful activities in relation to the dead children, he certainly attracted the attention of the king and the people in general. Then he left that place immediately. Oh, so he actually killed the kids by throwing them into the depths of the water. I guess those boys didn't know how to swim. Or they got whatever. Okay. Ayodhya vasina sarve balakan punaragatan drishtva visismire rajan raja chapyan andatapyata. O King Parikshit, when all the inhabitants of Ayodhya saw that their boys had come back to life, they were astounded, and King Sagar greatly lamented the absence of his son. Aṁśumān ragya tura ganveshane yayo pitrivya katanupatam bhasmanti dadrishe hayam. Therefore, Aṁśumān, the grandson of Maharaj Sagar, was ordered by the king to search for the horse. Following the same path traversed by his uncles, Aṁśumān gradually reached the stack of ashes and found the horse nearby. Tatra sinam munim vikshya kapilakyam adokshajam astot samahita mana prani pranato mahan. The great Aṁśumān saw the sage named Kapila, the saint who is an incarnation of Vishnu, sitting there by the horse. Aṁśumān offered him respectful obeisances, folded his hands, and offered him prayers with great attention. He is a super old horse. Aṁśumān uvacha na pashati tvam paramatmano jano na buddhyate tyapi samadhi yuktibi kuto pare tasya mana shariradhi visarga srishta aprakashaha. Aṁśumān said, "My Lord, even Lord Brahma to this very day unable to understand your position, which is far beyond himself.
can't understand it either by meditation or by mental speculation. What to speak of others like us, who have been created by Brahma in various forms of demigods, animals, human beings, birds, and beasts? We are completely in ignorance. Therefore, how can we know you, who are the transcendents? Purport. Icha dvesha samutena dvandamohena bharata sarva bhutani sammohan sarge yanti parantapa. O son of Bharata, Arjuna, O Kanko, all living entities are born into delusion, overcome by the dualities of desire and hate. It's Bhagavad Gita 7:27. All living beings in the material world are influenced by the three modes of material nature. Even Lord Brahma is in the mode of goodness. Similarly, the demigods are generally in the mode of passion, and living entities lower than the demigods, such as human beings and animals, are in the mode of ignorance, or in mixed goodness, passion, and ignorance. Therefore, Aṁśumān wanted to explain that because his uncles, who had burnt to ashes, were under the modes of material nature, they could not understand Lord Kapiladeva. Because you are beyond the direct and indirect intelligence of Lord Brahma, he prayed, unless we are enlightened by your lordship, it will not be possible for us to understand you. Atapi te deva parambojadvaya prasaraleshanugrihita eva janati tattvam bhagavan mahimno nachanya ekopi chidam vichinvan. My lord, if one is favored by even a slight trace of the mercy of your lotus feet, he can understand the greatness of your personality. But those who speculate to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead are unable to know you, even though they continue to study the Vedas for many years. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 10:14-29. The Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, can be understood by one who is favored by the Lord. The Lord cannot be understood by others. Yadeha bhajastri guna pradhana gunan vipashyantyuta tamangsta yanmayaya mohita chetasastvam vidu swasangstam na bahi prakashaha. My lord, you are fully situated in everyone's heart, but the living entities covered by the material body cannot see you, for they are influenced by the external energy conducted by the three modes of material nature. Their intelligence being covered by Sattva-gun, Rajagun, and Tamagun, they can only see the actions and reactions of these three modes of material nature. Because of the actions and reactions of the mode of ignorance, whether the living entities are awake or sleeping, they can see only the workings of material nature. They cannot see your lordship. Purport. Unless one is situated in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, one is unable to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord is situated in everyone's heart. However, because the conditioned souls are influenced by material nature, they can see only the actions and reactions of material nature, but not the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One therefore must purify himself internally and externally. Apavitra pavitro va sarvavastam gatopi va yasmaret pundarikaksham sabahya byantara suchihi. God, I've always said that wrong. Anyways, to keep ourselves externally clean, we should bathe 3 times daily, and for internal cleanliness, we must cleanse the heart by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. The members of the Krishna consciousness movement must always follow this principle, Bahya Byantara Suchihi. Then it will one day be possible to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face. Tang tamaham jnana ghanam sabhava pradvastamaya gunabhedamohai sanandanadyar munibhir vibhavyam katang vimurda paribhavayami. O my Lord, sages freed from the influence of the 3 modes of material nature, sages such as the 4 Kumaras, Sanaka, Sanandana, and Sanatan. So, these sages freed from material nature are able to think of you who are concentrated knowledge. But how can an ignorant person like me think of you? Purport. The word sabhava refers to one's own spiritual nature or original constitutional position. When situated in this original position, the living entity is unaffected by the modes of material nature. Sagunan samatityaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. It's Bhagavad Gita 14:26. As soon as one is freed from the influence modes of material nature, he is situated on the Brahman platform. Vivid examples of personalities thus situated are the four Kumaras and Narad. Such authorities can, by nature, understand the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but a conditioned soul not freed from the influence of material nature is unable to realize the Supreme. In Bhagavad Gita 2.45, therefore, Krishna advises Arjuna, Trai gunya vishaya veda nistrai gunyo bhavarjuna. One must rise above the influence of the three modes of material nature. One who stays within the influence of the three material modes is unable to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Prashantamaya gunakarmalingam anamarupam sarasar vimuktam jnanopadeshaya grithitadeham namamahe tvam purusham puranam. O completely peaceful Lord, although material nature, fruitive activities, and their consequent material names and forms are your creation, you are unaffected by them. Therefore, your transcendental name is different from material names, and your form is different from material forms. You assume a form resembling a material body just to give us instructions like those of Bhagavad Gita, but actually, you are the Supreme Original Person. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Jnana Upadeshaya, for distributing transcendental knowledge, like Bhagavad Gita. Purport. I love when Srila Prabhupada does that. Srila Yamunacharya has recited this verse in his Stottaratna 43. Pavantam evanu charan nirantara prashantani shesha manoratantara kadaham aikantika nitya kinkara praharshayishyami sanata jivitam. By serving you constantly, one is freed from all material desires and is completely pacified. When shall I engage as your permanent, eternal servant and always feel joyful to have such a fitting master? We had learned this in Puri. Manoratena sati dhavato bahi. One who acts on the mental platform must descend to material activities. Material contamination, however, is completely absent from the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his pure devotee. Therefore, the Lord is addressed as Prashanta, completely peaceful, free from the disturbance of existence. The Supreme Lord has no material name or form. Only the foolish think that the Lord's name and form are material. Avajantima mura manushyam tanumashritam. The identity of the Supreme Lord is that he is the original person. Nonetheless, those who have but a poor fund of knowledge think that the Lord is formless. The Lord is formless in the material sense, but he has his transcendental form, Satchid Ananda Vigraha. Tanmaya rachite loke vastubuddhya grihadishu paramanti kamalo bhershya moha vibhranta chetasa. O Lord, those whose hearts are bewildered by the influence of lust, greed, envy, and illusion are interested only in false hearth and home in this world created by your Maya. Attached to home, wife, and children, they wander in this material world perpetually. Adhyana sarva bhutatman kama karmendriyashaya mohopasho dridhaschinno bhagavangstava darshanat. O super soul of all living entities, O personality of Godhead, simply by seeing you, I have now been freed from all lusty desires, which are the root cause of insurmountable illusion and bondage in the material world. Shri Shuka Uvacha Idam Gitanubhavastam Bhagavan Kapila Muni Aṁśumāntam Uvachedam Anugrahya Dhiya Nripa. King Parikshit, when Aṁśumān had glorified the Lord in this way, the great sage Kapila, the powerful incarnation, being very merciful to him, explained to him the path of knowledge. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Shvayam niyatam vatsa pitamaha pashuštava ime cha pitaro dagdha gangambhor hanti netarat. Supreme Personality of Godhead said, my Aṁśumān, here is the animal grandfather for sacrifice. Please take it. As for your forefathers who have been burned to ashes, they can be delivered only by Ganges water and not by any other means. Parikramya shirasa prasadya hayaman anayat sagarastena pashuna yagyashesham samapayat. After Aṁśumān circumambulated Kapilamuni and offered him respectful obeisances, bowing his head. After fully satisfying him in this way, Aṁśumān brought back the horse meant for sacrifice, and with this horse, Maharaj Sagar performs the remaining ritualistic ceremonies. Raja Aṁśumate nyasya nispriho mukta bandhana orvo padishta margena lebhe gatim anuttamam. After delivering charge of his kingdom to Aṁśumān and thus being freed from all material anxiety and bondage, Sagar Maharaj, following the means instructed by Orva Muni, achieved the supreme destination. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 9th canto, 8th chapter of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, entitled The Sons of Sagar Meet Lord Kapiladeva. Then, the next chapter will be the dynasty of Aṁśumān. Let's see. So Mother Ganges delivers Sagar's sons, the story of Sodas, and then the story of Kartava. So that's what we're reading tomorrow. All right, so now we have like 10 minutes left. Let's read this from Srila Bharati Maharaj, very short. Chaitra Purnima. Come on. April 16th, 2022 is Shri Balaram Rasa Yatra and Shri Krishna Vasanti Ras, and the appearance day of Vamsi Vadananda. Oh God, I always say Vadananda. Vamsi Vadananda Thakur, also known as Shri Vamsi Vadan Goswami, as well as Shri Shyamananda Prabhu in Vrindavan, India. The following is a Bhav Anuvad given by Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Goswami Maharaj on the same Tithi on April 2015. Today is Purnima Tithi, and a very special day. Today marks the celebration of Shri Krishna's Vasanti Ras and Shri Balaram's Ras Yatra. Shri Balaram performed Ras at Ramghat in Vrindavan. Previously, the Yamuna did not flow by Ramghat, but Balaram attracted her by force using his plow. Shri Vamsi Vadananda Thakur. It is also Shri Vamsi Vadananda Thakur's appearance day. He is the incarnation of Shri Krishna's flute. After Mahaprabhu left, remained in Navadvip on Mahaprabhu's order to serve Shachi Mata and Vishnupriya Devi and pacify all the devotees. Mahaprabhu would inform Shachi Mata of the various Vaishnavas arriving as guests at their home. After Mahaprabhu took sannyas, Vamsi Vadananda Thakur took up this role. He also looked after all the household affairs for Shachi Mata and Vishnupriya Devi. Then Shri Shyamananda Prabhu. One second, just making sure everything is running okay. Hari Bol Champak Didi. Hi, Manjari Didi, no problem. Today is also the appearance day of Shri Shyamananda Prabhu. From the worldly perspective, he was born in West Bengal in the town of Bahadurpur, within the Burdhaman district in the Sadgopa caste. His parents, having suffered much grief due to having lost several of their children at birth prior to Shyamananda, named Dukhi, literally meaning one who is sad, to ward off any further calamity. Later, he went to Ambika Kalna and accepted Diksha from a disciple of Gauridas Pandit, Shri Hridayananda, who later came to be known as Hriday Chaitanya. Shyamananda was awarded the name Krishnadasa at initiation and thenceforth came to be known as Dukhi Krishnadas. Dukhi Krishnadas stayed under the tutelage of Srila Jiva Goswami in Vrindavan, along with fellow students Nartam and Srinivas. Eventually, Dukhi Krishnadas awarded the title Shamananda by the Vishnu Vaishnava Raj Sabha, while Nartam received the title Thakur Mahashai, and Srinivas was given the title Acharya. Thus, they came to be known as Srinivas Acharya, Shamananda Prabhu, and Nartam Das Thakur. Once, while Shamananda Prabhu was sweeping the grove at Seva Kunj in Vrindavan, he found Srimati Radharani's ankle bracelet lying on the ground. Overcome by ecstatic symptoms just by its touch, he reverentially touched it to his forehead, and the nupur, the ankle bell, left a mark. Due to this mark, his tilak looked different. See, there's Shamananda Prabhu finding the ankle bell. And his tilak looks kind of like that. That's Radha Shyam Sundar in Vrindavan. Yogamaya then approached Shamananda Prabhu and said, "My daughter-in-law's nupur, ankle bell, fell off her feet while she was dancing. If you have found it, please return it to me." Just making sure. Okay. So please return it if you found it. However, Shamananda insisted, "I shall return only to its owner." Then Srimati Radharani herself appeared to reclaim her nupur and in turn offered a beautiful deity of Shyam Sundar to Shamananda Prabhu. Indeed, Shamananda Prabhu is the recipient of very special mercy from Srimati Radharani. That small deity of Shyam Sundar gifted by Srimati Radharani can still be found in the Shyam Sundar temple in Vrindavan. Small deity, Radha Shyam Sundar is huge. Anyways, and the same temple, in the same temple, the big deity of Shyam Sundar was established by Baladeva Vijayabhushan Prabhu later. I didn't know that. Wow. Okay. To instruct us not to supplant authority by overstepping set standards, Sri Jiva Goswami chastised Shamananda Prabhu for having changed his tilak to nupur instead of conventional tilak adorned by the Guru Varga. Then Shamananda Prabhu related the entire story behind the nupur tilak. Each time he attempted to wipe off the nupur tilak, it reappeared on his forehead of its own accord. Thus, it was accepted as a bona fide mark. To this day, the nupur tilak is adorned by the descendants of Shamananda. Other sources mention that Lalita Saki and Vishaka Saki approached Shamananda Prabhu, and Srimati Radharani herself touched ankle bell to his forehead. All right. So, Shri Baladev Rasayatra ki jai, Shri Krishna Vasanti Ras ki jai, Shri Vangsi Vadananda Thakur ki jai, Tadi Shubha Avirbhav Titi ki jai, Shri Shamananda Prabhu ki jai, Tadi Shubha Avirbhav Titi ki jai. Shri Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol. Jai Shri Guru Gauranga Gandhari Kagiri Dhari Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju ki jai, Shri Govana Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju ki jai, Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashatashmar Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Shri Gurudev Ki Jai. Nitil Vishnu Vishnupad Ashtatarashatashmar Bhaktivedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitil Vishnu Vishnupad Ashtatarashatashmar Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitil Vishnu Vishnupad Ashtatarashatashmar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitil Vishnu Vishnupad Ashtatarashatashmar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitil Pavishta Maha Bhagavat Shila Goksharas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitil Pavishta Shila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Nitil Pavishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Shila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Rupano Gwarga Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhattar. Shri Jeev Gopal Bhattadash Raghunath Sharda Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai. Namachai Shila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री आदित्य गदाधार शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जाय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल कुरमंडल ब्रज मंडल मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जाय। सर्व अभिष्ट प्रदत्त गिरिराज महाराज की जाय। श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड की जाय। श्री मुन देवी गंगा देवी की जाय। श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जाय। श्री भक्ति देवी की जाय। श्री पूर्णमासी योगमाय की जाय। श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जाय। श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जाय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जाय। समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जाय। Shinitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo Grantaraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Ki Jai. Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavashcha Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Sattvatai Namo Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat Pranams. That's interesting, Kishore. Prabhu, thanks for sharing that. Baladeva Jabhushan is actually from the Shamananda Parivar. Well, that would make sense why he would have a big Radha Shyam Sundar installed there then, doesn't it? Hare Krishna, Shash Sharma ji, and Dandavat Pranams Indira Mataji. All right, see you all tomorrow we'll find out how Ganga came to this world, to this earth planet. All right, Dandavat Pranams. There's 3 reasons, right? I think we read that before. There's 3 causes for Ganga coming to this world. Anyways, we'll read about that tomorrow.